This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're at the opening press conference here for a banger on December the 11th between Chris Eubank Jr. and Liam Williams. It was kind of the worst kept secret in boxing. We knew it was coming, we were waiting, and yeah, it was finally announced and delivered, Adam.
A banger, I like that, KUGAN. I think it's the first time I've heard that mentioned in this fight, and I've heard a lot of things mentioned about this fight because it's something that we've wanted for many months, and it's something Liam Williams wanted for many months, and I think even though Chris won't admit it up there, I think it's also something that he wants and needs. It's a great fight. It's the best British duel of the year. It's fantastic to bring it to Cardiff. We're looking forward to going back to Wales. Chris entering the Lions or the Dragons Den, a bit like his father used to, and it's all coming on Sky Sports, which is it's a real statement of intent, I think, and it's a fantastic night to have before Christmas. We lost the Josh Taylor fight that was put back, Taylor and Catterall, to February, so we felt it was really important to have a big fight on Sky Sports before Christmas. We were always thinking of December the 11th as a date. Clarissa Shields was penned in for that date, and we hope Savannah Marshall will be fit for that. But Clarissa still fights. Savannah we wait, but I'm sure will be ringside. And listen, this landed, and it was tough. It was tough getting it over the line. Big financial fight. Obviously, there's different parties involved. You know, Wasserman bring Chris Eubank. We've got the deal with Boxer, who are working in collaboration with Wasserman, which is good. We're sort of in the middle. We're the platform. Everybody worked really hard. Big shout out to Rob Selms, our head of rights, who did a lot of work behind the scenes on this. It came together, and I wasn't sure when it was going to be announced, but finally, as with all of these things, it suddenly comes on you really quickly, and it was a massive relief to get it out. And now we've got to build it up. Well, it doesn't really need building. It's a fantastic fight, but we'll have a lot of fun with it over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and it should be a huge showdown on December the 11th.
Right, let's kind of address some of the talking points kind of around, obviously, December the 11th. The first thing is obviously this fight isn't on pay-per-view, which is always music to people's ears when, you know, we love a pay-per-view fight when it's when fans think it should be pay-per-view. There was suggestion, not from your side, but there was suggestion that this could have been a pay-per-view fight. So was it considered that the card ever would have been a pay-per-view card? Was that suggested from your side or considered from your side?
I was very much in the corner of this is a Sky Sports fight, and I think that everybody, when we discussed it, was in agreement. And the trouble, as you know, KUGAN, is that big money fights with big names are difficult, and you know, Sky Sports box office has over the years been that platform for the special event, for, you know, that Stardust night. But I also feel, you know, at times the customers on Sky really do need, you know, and we do need casual audiences. You know, we're in a great place with boxing. You know, with Eddie on Dazn, with Frank on BT, with Channel 5 the other night as well, with Mick, and other promoters and small hall promoters who've struggled through the pandemic. Boxing's in a really, really good place. Everybody, and fighters and fans, are benefiting most from that, I will say that. But I think for me it was really important to get this fight on Sky Sports. I don't know, you look at it, it's not a world title fight. It's two fighters who could become world champions. One has just fought for a belt against Demetrius Andrade. They've both still got something to prove at that level, I think. Chris will be seeing this as a big test before, you know, hopefully he'll fight a Golovkin or Murata, you know, next year. But I felt that, I suppose, Josh Taylor's fight went to February. I thought we needed a big night on Sky Sports. It was always going to be a Sky Sports night, December the 11th. And I'm just really pleased that we could get this very difficult deal over the line financially, so the fighters benefited, but that we could have it on Sky Sports. So everybody had to help that happen, and it has. And it's just great. It is great that once in a while you get a really big fight, that we can do that on Sky Sports, and this is one of those times.
The only way I envisage this card being on pay-per-view is if the card was a pay-per-view card, something you've been accustomed to over the years, obviously with Matchroom, of not having kind of that potential standout fight like a Joshua, etc., where the card's been a pay-per-view card as opposed to the main event just being a sole pay-per-view fight. So was that considered that you kind of stack the card as strong as you can in order to possibly have made that like a pay-per-view card? Was that considered?
No, I don't think so. No, I think this is always going to be a Sky Sports show. I mean, look at it. Clarissa Shields is defending a British debut, defending her world middleweight titles on the bill as well. You've got almost two for the price of one there. That's a fantastic sort of, obviously there's a main event there, but it's really a double header. I'm almost as excited about having Clarissa over here as I am with the main event. It's fantastic. So I'm just really pleased it can be on Sky Sports, as well as the likes of Crawford Porter this weekend, as well as the likes of Inoue and Vasyl Lomachenko. Lomachenko's against Richard Comey that night as well on December the 11th. So, it's fantastic having Top Rank providing these massive fights at a time when Boxer is in an embryonic stage with us, and we're building together and building a great stable, and loving working with Ben and the team and all the ideas and the business behind us and everything like that. But it's tough, as we know, and we had a great box office event with Usyk and AJ in Tottenham, and hopefully we get the rematch as well, and I'm sure there'll be more box office events ahead. But this one, I felt very strongly, as did some others, that this should be a Sky Sports happening. So no, it was always going to be Sky Sports on December the 11th, and Eubank Williams, in my eyes, I always wanted it Sky Sports, and I kept mentioning that.
Talk about Clarissa Shields. Obviously, again, we assumed the idea was to have Clarissa Shields here having a UK debut or in Cardiff, and also Savannah Marshall in the bill to kind of build their potential fight for next year. But obviously, we wish Savannah Marshall a speedy recovery. We know she's out injured. Does that kind of hold that situation back a little bit, Adam?
I don't think listen, it's boxing, isn't it? You can't have everything, can't be sort of mapped out. I'm sure if it was mapped out, Savannah would have got the win over Clarissa in the amateurs and then have gone and won Olympic gold in 2012, rather than freezing by her own admission and then having a real nightmare 3 or 4 years to build herself back. Boxing works in different ways. Savannah, of course, has become a real star now, and I thought that was her homecoming or a coming out party in Newcastle. She's got a slight injury. It needs to be attended to. We need to work on that. Clarissa wanted to fight. December the 11th makes sense. We get Savannah down at ringside. We'll have some fun there. And if Clarissa comes through, which is a tough test for her in its own, against an unbeaten fighter defending her titles, and then we go in probably in February with Savannah back in Newcastle. Maybe we get Clarissa to come and do a bit of commentary and build it up again. And I'd like to see that fight in the spring or the summer. I'm going to dream, KUGAN. I want it at St James's Park. We dreamt with Tony Bellew, didn't we? He wanted to fight at Goodison, and we made that happen, and he got that great night. I'd love to see Savannah Marshall, one of the new stars of the Northeast, at a time where it's bubbling and buoyant and fantastic up there, and the sleeping giant of the Northeast sport is back with Newcastle. Newcastle football now, fantastic, and the boxing as well going so strong. I'd love to see that huge blockbuster between Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields, the rematch of their fight at the Worlds so many years ago, almost be a decade. In fact, it probably will be a decade, at St James's Park in the spring, summer. Make it happen, KUGAN. I'd love to see that.
Dream big, yeah, absolutely. But aside from where the fight plays, we just want the fight to take place.
Yeah, look, if it's an arena show, it's an arena show. But I would just, I like to try and, look on the positives and look on what we can do and how we can build it. Who thought that Froch Groves would have sold 80,000 at Wembley when we
80?
80 and no, it was 80. 79, no, it was 80. As Carl, reminded me again the other night. 90 for AJ and Klitschko, just to remind him. But yeah, no, I didn't think a lot of people outside, probably Barry, Hearn and one or two others, thought that would sell 80,000 at Wembley. So who knows? You dream, don't you? And yeah, just as long as that fight happens. But I think it deserves a big home.
Okay, let's talk about December the 11th. Something obviously you're accustomed to over the years, the almost predictable show clash between broadcasters in the lead up to Christmas.
Yeah,
but
it's not ideal.
It's not ideal, but it's a situation you was in with White and Chisora, with Frampton and Warrington 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, it can't be helped. We know that dates are kind of tight around Christmas. We also know that Dazn and Metro were going the 18th. There could have been 2 show clashes had Cattrall and Josh Taylor happened on that date. So, but yeah, something with just as fans, it's not ideal, but I suppose it is what it is.
Yeah, it's not ideal. The good way to look at it is that fighters are getting out, and they're getting paid, and there's a lot of interest in boxing. That's a good way of looking at it. Obviously, it's not ideal. We were always going to go December the 11th. We were going to go to Birmingham with Clarissa and Savannah, but obviously things changed, and this fight got made. So we're in Cardiff now, which is great, and we go December the 11th, and it's a shame. And look, like I worked with Eddie for 10 years and with all the fighters, and I adore Katie Taylor and Conor Benn, and they're brilliant, and that we wish them the best of luck as always. And it was heartbreaking seeing what happened to Terry the other night, and you get close to these men, these women, these fighters. It's such a tough business, as you know. And one of the things that's tough is that you're going to get these things that they clash, and but there's other things to look at, and Eddie knows, and Ben knows, and Calla knows that arenas before Christmas are very hard to get. There's a lot of scheduling problems. There's I'm a Celebrity and Strictly and all those sort of things that
You're not going in that, are you?
No, I'm too busy here.
We're just going to get a little wee plug there.
No, I don't think I'd go now. Let's get Johnny. I like Johnny to go into the jungle. This I'm a Celebrity. I like him to do that. I think he'd be brilliant at that. That'd be really cool. So Johnny Nelson for I'm a Celebrity. But no, we got the darts at Ali Pali over Christmas, and many other things happening in the sporting calendar. So it's really exciting time, but difficult to get the scheduling for sport, get the scheduling for not the clashes, and also the arenas. So. And sometimes when a fight's got to be made, it's got to be made. So it's a shame that we're up against each other, or up alongside each other, or however you look at it. But hopefully fans can see a way of getting to both or watching both. But we're pretty confident that this is the fight, Eubank Williams, that will draw definitely the big audience, the casual fans, and we'll be pushing it very hard on Sky.
We know you're kind of relatively early into the new era that launched from Sky Sports Boxing not too long ago, but just from kind of an opposition now point of view, do you keep up to date with everything happening with your old friends in Matchroom with Dazn? Do you watch, and kind of how do you assess how they've gone over the last sort of 3 or 4 months?
KUGAN, they are old friends. They're still friends. This is a friendly divorce. I got on great. Everyone knows I got on great with Eddie and Frank over many years, and I've still got a link with Matchroom, with my work on the darts, with Barry and Matt Porter, and of course, we keep. This is business. They made a decision for the good of Matchroom and the good of Dazn and what they did. I don't see them leaving us in the lurch or anything like that. We had a great relationship together for many years. It got harder, obviously, when Dazn came in, but we worked well with Joe Markowski and his team, and and it was as good as it can be when Matchroom are sort of looking after two different clients, so to speak. But they made that decision, they went, and we weren't going to stand still. We've done boxing at Sky for 30 years. It is a new era, it is a new challenge. Ben and I started working together, I guess, whenever it was, end of May, beginning of June. We've worked incredibly closely for 4 or 5 months. I can't tell you how many phone calls back and forth, how many late nights, how many annoyed messages from my wife, from his girlfriend, etc. That this is boxing and this is what we have to do. But we've worked really closely together. Savage down as well. All the team at Sky seem rejuvenated. There's a new challenge. The boxer team are great. We're knitting in. John Wischusen deserves a special mention. We've worked a long time with him, and that really helps us. Lawrence Lustig being back around, old faces, and so there's some old faces, some new faces. It's a difficult challenge. It's a new challenge because we're starting again, and we had 50 fighters move over, so we've got to go again. I think the Top Rank deal, which is fantastic, helps us because we've got the big names coming over. So as you've seen, so many of them, the Inues and the Vasyl Lomachenkos, and now Crawford Porter this weekend. It's terrific stuff from Top Rank. But I think with Boxer, it's a work in progress. It's a long journey, but I think it's a journey that's actually started quicker and better than I thought it would. I think we've been pretty aggressive. I think we'll be more aggressive. I think there's more announcements to come. But it's good for fans and for fighters that the Olympians, for example, have got the choices of where to go. And Matchroom have got a huge stable, and Frank's got a big stable as well on BT. They're doing their thing. It's great. We've got to do what's right for Sky, and we will. And we're not going to say it's all going to happen at once. and shows we're going to have difficulties and disappointments, as you know, and we're going to have some great nights. This is a good day, being here for a big press conference, and who knows, tomorrow might not be such a good day, as we know in boxing. But we've got a really interesting show on Saturday night for the sort of next gen, the young to come through, Richard Riakporhe topping. We're going to sort of a big global fight. That's the beauty of the deal with Top Rank and Boxer. And also the Top Rank fighters can come over here. We want Michaela Meyer to come over here. Maybe Lomachenko can come back. He's fighting a Commie in New York on December the 11th, so there's a knit there. I know Todd wants to bring his fighters over here. I know Beng wants to bring their fighters over there. So there's a lot there. They've got ESPN, we've got Sky, we believe we've got the best platforms. Eddie's Eddie, we haven't got him anymore, but we've got Ben, and Ben's different, and he's intelligent, and he's likes to sort of stay behind the scenes a bit, but he's getting in front of camera a little bit more. I thought we spoke really well today, and he's passionate about boxing, and he's young, he's 28, and he's got lots to learn, but he's very, very innovative, and I'm really enjoying working with him, like I did with Eddie. They've both got their big positives, and it's great for boxing that those two and Frank are involved, and many others, and Kala and Nisei. It's great working with them again, and I think we're lucky. We're lucky that there's so much interest in boxing, and there's so many big fights that are being made and will continue to be made in 2022.
Adam, have you held any discussions with either Anthony Joshua or his team regarding his situation in his pending comeback with Alexander Usyk for next year? I
message Freddie every day, and I've messaged AJ, but he hasn't got back to me. So obviously he's busy at the minute. I think he's gone away for a bit of a break. He's talking to you more than he is anyone else now, KUGAN. Can I just say well done with that interview? I thought it was excellent, an excellent watch, a really different interview with Anthony, and I thought he spoke really candidly, and well done for that. It was good for you, that. Where are we? Discussions are still to be had. I remain extremely confident that Anthony will stay with Sky. I don't see why he wouldn't. We've been a fantastic partner for each other. Sky have really benefited from having Anthony with us for the last 10 years almost, or 9. And I think he's really benefited from having the Sky platform and the huge stages, and obviously Matchroom and Eddie have played a huge part in that. So has Freddie and 258, and so have we. And I think it's been a mixture, a pot that's blended well together. So why change that now? Certainly in the UK, I don't understand that. So I'm confident that we'll get the rematch. Hopefully, I mean it's not done. Fingers crossed, but those negotiations will continue. And I think we'll let AJ just have some time away, which I think he needs before he starts what will be a huge training camp with a huge challenge in front of him to try and regain the titles against one of the pound-for-pound best on the planet in Alexander Usyk, who I thought was absolutely sensational at Tottenham. So, there's a lot going on. As you found in that interview, there's a lot going on inside AJ's head at the moment. What he does with where he trains, who he trains with, how he trains, who he spars with. All of that is almost more important from a boxing point of view. But we'll get to our discussions and negotiations, and I remain very confident.
What's your assessment of this kind of trainer situation that kind of AJ was in parts vague in the interview about? In other ways, he was kind of transparent in what he was doing. Have you kind of picked the bones from that whole trainer situation? We see Eddie Reynoso come out with some comments yesterday. I mean, it's a little bit unclear, should we say, but how have you kind of looked on that situation?
I think it's picking the bones is the right phrase, a bit like out of your interview with him. Listen, ultimately it's up to Anthony what he wants to do. He's a very, very successful fighter, 2-time world champion. He's been an incredible advocate for boxing, a global superstar, and we owe a huge amount to AJ, I think. So for him, it's his decision. I'd be very surprised if he didn't have Rob as part of his outfit, because Rob has guided him, through the amateurs. He's guided him as his lead man for so long, even after the Andy Ruiz defeat, when he brought Angel and Joby in. Rob was still the general, the governor. And look, I know that the training and the team and they've come in for some criticism and tactically, and also, Anthony said, look, he's got to go back and do it very differently this time. But let's not forget his success has been under Rob McCracken. So is it back to what he's done best with him before? Does he stay with Joby, Angel, and Rob, the three of them? Does he add an American? He's obviously been over there. He's gone to some very good people with the likes of Eddie and Ronnie Shields and Robert Garcia and Virgil Hunter. So he's. But often, I mentioned, I think, in another interview that Scott Quigg used to sort of go out. He's with Joe Gallagher, and he used to go out to see Freddie and work in the wild card, just pack his bags and over there. I think AJ wants to be a bit of a sponge, and he obviously wants to take some advice from other people, which I think is sensible. What he actually does, when push comes to shove, of running a camp, he's only got a few months before the rematch. I don't think he wants to make any drastic changes. I wouldn't have thought so. Whether it's more additions or slight changes, possibly, or maybe a change of environment, I don't know. That's up to him, and I'm sure he'll be talking with KD and Freddie and all the people he's very close with, and they'll make the right decision for Anthony. And it needs to be the right decision because he's got it all to do, and to become a three-time champion, going back into the fire against someone like Usyk, and you have to have huge respect for Anthony to do that straight away.
Adam, are you, Sky, involved in any of the talks over this potential Khan-Brook and Amir Khan fight?
Khan-Brook and Amir Khan. Where do we start with Khan-Brook and Amir Khan? We started a long, long time ago, Kugan, as you and I know.
Too many years ago.
Too many years ago. It's still a fight I want to see. It's still a fight I don't know who's going to win. It's still a fight between two big names. Yes, we'd like to have seen it 3, 4, 5 years ago, but I think we said that about Mayweather and Pacquiao, didn't we? 5 years too late, could have had 3 of them. Ultimately, if these fights get made, people are going to watch them. So, watch this space. I think it's close, Amir Khan and Khan-Brook. Let's see what happens. I don't know is the answer. I've had a few missed calls from Amir this week, from Cal over recent weeks. I mean, to be honest, we were so close to making it. And Eddie and I were at Sheffield United a few years ago with Cal, and we were there with it. And I put one call in to Shah, and I said, I'm so pleased we finally got this fight done. And he goes, no, we're going to fight Canelo, because Canelo, we're going to get this money. And I'm thinking, so who knows? Let's just see what happens on that front.
Okay, so in answer to my question, possibly or potentially.
Possibly or potentially.
Okay. Oh, a politician at times, Adam.
I have to be at times, Cougar.
I know, because we've learned over the years that people like yourself saying things could kind of jeopardise it.
As we speak, it's sort of 2:15 on, what day is it? On Wednesday. Wednesday. I would say that, the fight, I think the fight will happen. But where, when, who, how?
Yeah, my question it wasn't whether it's going to happen or not. It was your guys' involvement. But okay, we'll appreciate your answer there. Just finally, Adam, just a reaction to a couple of bits out of the WBC convention yesterday. I mean, Canelo and Makabu, White and Fury not being ordered as maybe expected because of obviously White's legal situation with the WBC. Yeah, just a quick summary of that from yesterday.
Yeah, plenty happening as always. Politics in the sport. I'd like to see Dillian get a crack at Tyson Fury. I think he deserves it. He's been hanging around a long time. He's been beating a lot of really good fighters, and he right the wrong with Povetkin. So I'd like to see that happen. Obviously, there's governing bodies and politics and all the usual, and I don't get involved in that. I just like to see Tyson. He was brilliant against Wilder. He's the premier heavyweight on the planet at the moment. Alexander Usyk might argue, but he's still got to prove. Alexander, 2 or 3 times if he beats Joshua again, and then takes on Fury and beats Fury, of course. But at the moment, for me, Tyson Fury is the #1 heavyweight in the world. Hoping he comes down on Saturday night to support Jose Burton and get a chance to tell him in person and congratulate him for what was an incredible fight with Deontay Wilder. He'll do what he wants to do, Tyson, but I personally would love to see the Dillian White fight. I think it's a good fight for British boxing, good fight for world boxing, and while AJ and Usyk are going to have their rematch, it sort of makes sense to me. The other one, Canelo. I mean, look, I thought he was going to go up to light heavyweight and try and tackle the Bivol and the Batabievs and the Joe Smiths, but wow, cruiserweight. Best asking Johnny about that one. He's the world cruiserweight champion for 7.5 years. He was reigned supreme, as he keeps telling us, after a few, near misses. Yeah, look, Canelo's Canelo. He's elite. He's brilliant. He's a one-off. Let's enjoy him while he's here. I love to watch him. I love to be around him, and let's see if he does. If he jumps up to cruiserweight, and it's some feat. Remember when Roy Jones went up to heavyweight against John Ruiz, and I remember thinking, you beat John Ruiz, you are going to be one of the best 3-4 fighters ever of all time, and he did. And I thought, there you are. Your place is cemented forever. Unfortunately, Roy went on a little bit too long, which just marks his card a bit, which was a shame. But still, at his very best, he was in that sort of category. Canelo, let's enjoy him. The loss to Mayweather, bar that, he's been absolutely sensational over so many years, and he looks like he's getting better and better. So who would back against him doing anything? But cruiserweight, wow.
Adam Smith, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. We'll probably talk to you again tomorrow because we have another press conference tomorrow at Wembley for the show on Saturday. So, yeah, appreciate your time as always, Mr. Smith.
Look forward to it, KUGAN. See you at Wembley.